They say we live in an interconnected world, connected with people. I think that's pretty cool. I agree with that. We live in a world of information overload. I have a friend, his daughter, she's 9. She went to summer camp for about 4 days in the summer. So they drop her off at summer camp, and she calls in a panic that evening. So her mother's thinking, oh my God, did she encounter a bear? Was she bitten by a bee? Or was she pushed by a bully? So she calls her daughter, she says, sweetie, what's wrong? She says, Mommy, I don't like it at summer camp. Well, she says, sweetie, we just brought you today. I mean, what's the problem? I don't care. I want you to come and get me right away. Now, of course, her mother's getting visibly upset. She's saying, sweetie, can you please tell me what happened? She says, Mommy, there's no Wi-Fi at summer camp. There's no Wi-Fi at summer camp. Have we, like children, become so accustomed to being connected that if we're not connected for 5 minutes, we go in a state of withdrawal like a bad drug? I understand, connected to people is important, but when you're going to connect to people, it's got to be important. I mean, is it genuine? Is it sustainable? Is it real? Is it sufficient? Now, we all know the risks of putting too much information on the web. Your photo, your address, your name, your social security number, your credit card. How about a fingerprint? How about a retina scan? Last time I checked in Canada, there was this thing called identity theft. So we're making the job a lot easier for criminals just to scoop up what we readily and blindly post online. I'm not making a judgment here. I'm just saying, what do you think? We crave for content, and we want more content, and then we want more content until the content is boring. Yet we're mystified, we're hypnotized, we want that next dose of stuff. And I get it, you want to be connected, but you're going to be connected with people that care about you, right? No, I don't want to be lost in this sea of interconnectedness, but I do want to share a story with you today, a story about being connected, really connected. A story of the stormy waters of your life and career when you will be thrown overboard. And what I want to do is give you a life jacket to keep you afloat when those times are difficult. A time of finding your own zone and finding meaning in your life. And I call this people power. Now, when I was 3, people would ask me, Paul, what do you want to become when you grow up? I said, 3, I want to be a policeman. At 5, I said, I want to be a pilot. At 7, I said, no, I want to be an astronaut. In my 20s, I said, I want to be rich. Cash in my jeans, Range Rover, sailing in Sardinia, villa in Lake Como. And my grandmother, she was so sweet. She was looking at me like this. This is a long time ago. And she's giving me this Mona Lisa smile. And she says, Paulo, tu es né avec un petit pain, tu vas mourir avec un petit pain. Which in French kind of means if you're born with a small bread, you will die with a small bread. Which essentially means you're born poor, you will die poor, that is your fate. And I remember looking at her and smiling back, and she was so sweet. And I said to myself, I'm going to prove this lady wrong. So I'm in my 30s. Things are going okay. Got promoted a few times. Things are going okay. I decided to boldly go. To boldly go like Captain Kirk in Star Trek, and to seek new worlds and civilizations. To leave Canada, work abroad. Because we all crave adventure, don't we? Well, things were okay till I was working with my peers, and as a Canadian, I can be a little blunt. That got me in trouble sometimes, but the cultures were different, but I didn't quite understand politics. I wasn't very good at politics. And I try to be good, I try to be political, and I try to be political, and I try to be political, all of a sudden, it would sort of blow up, like Fred Flintstone losing my top. And they'd say, whoa, what happened to Paul? He was a nice guy till he lost it. So At one point, I decided I'm going to travel. So my travel patterns look something like this. But for the sake of example, I went from Canada to Thailand for 4 years. In that 4-year period, I decided to work in the Democratic Republic of Congo for about a year without my family. Well, things are going okay. Excuse me. John was my boss. He hired me. And then the new boss comes in. I call it the new boss syndrome. Don't you just hate it when new bosses mess up your routine? Anyway, this guy was pushing and probing and doing all kinds of stuff to get my family to move from Thailand to the Congo. And I said, my kids are teenagers. They're bored in Bangkok. If they're bored in Bangkok, they're going to be bored in the Congo. So I pushed back. And that wasn't good because our communications dropped. I was losing control with my boss. Now, when you work in the Congo for 2.5 months, you go home for 1-week holiday, you can imagine that took its toll on my marriage, my family, and my sanity. But when I came back, I thought my boss was happy. I mean, after all, I was working hard. I was ahead of my numbers. I was selling ahead of my numbers. I was really pushing hard. And I was doing a lot. I was making profits for the company. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do, right? Make profits for the company. And sacrifices. While my family was in one part of the world, I was here killing myself. I mean, don't we all sacrifice something or another for our jobs? And I was loyal. Oh man, I was like really my nose to the grind and completely neglecting my network. Well, it turns out that he wasn't happy. He fired me. Yeah, he fired me. No job, no money, no leads. Now, when you work in the Congo, the best thing to do with a guy like me is to put me back in the plane, send him home, problem resolved. But I said, I'm not going anywhere. So all of a sudden I get this phone call. They threatening me, saying, Mr. Renaud, you would be wise to find your embassy. Okay. Now I was used to driving every night at a roadblock in Congo with an AK-47 pointing at me saying, what have you got in the car? I don't have much, but if you let me go home, I'm just over there, I'll come back and bring you some cigarettes or a lighter. Let me go. But this has gotten much, much uglier. My boss was relentless in making sure I leave the country. Then it occurred to me, okay, I get it now. He had admitted to me he had done some financial wrongdoing, and of course he wanted that secret to remain a secret. Now, Congo was a scary place back then. Now, luckily I'd made a friend, Congolese friend, through my networking, and I was able to hide for 2 months in his house. But my boss, being so relentless, he could have thrown the authorities to find me, grab me, throw me in jail, lose the key. So, after 2 months of being in exile at my friend's place, I booked my flight back to Thailand, worked my way around customs, sit in the plane, called my friend, I said, I'm in the plane. I'm going to Thailand, and thank you for helping me. Going back home, jobless and depressed. Then it gets worse. The competition sets in. No, not people looking for jobs like me. Me, I was my own worst enemy. Paul, dude, you're 40s, you still don't know what you want to become when you grow up. Then I'd have these awful shame tapes going in my head. Paul, nothing seems to stick. Well, how come you're never happy? Maybe you are useless. Maybe my grandmother was right. So, as you can imagine, my self-confidence dropped and my self-esteem was about this high. I said, Paul, come on, Paul, give yourself a shake. You've had good moments in your career. Snap out of it. Rewire your brain pattern. And then I remembered one thing which changed my life. Is a quote from Earl Nightingale. You must become what you think about. Okay, so if you think you're useless, you will become useless. If you think you're successful, you will become successful. Yes, that's the right mind shift. But how do we do that? How do we go from being depressed to hopeful? How do we go from pessimistic to optimistic? Then a revelation came. I said, Paul, what have you always done in your career that's always helped you? I remember 3 things. 1, talk to people. Meet friends, call friends, go for coffee, find an excuse, just go out and talk to people. I remember that networking had a therapeutic effect on me. When in doubt, network. Now, I wrote a book, it's called A Networking Book, and one of my employees, her name's Mickey, she buys the book, reads the book, gets at the point where it says, call a friend. Call a friend. She calls her friend. She says, Mickey, I haven't heard from you. Yes, please come and see me. Bring the magazines you want to sell. Come alone. Mickey goes, okay. So she goes to her friend's office. And then Mickey says, her friend says, Mickey, I want the boss to meet you. Mickey goes, okay. So after about an hour and a half with the boss, Mickey walks out with a firm job offer. A firm job offer. Mickey says, before reading the book, she says I would call my friends at Christmas, at New Year's. I'm going to call my friends more often now. Second thing I remembered, the more people you meet, the more you learn. In fact, it's almost impossible not to learn something when you meet someone. When I was in Thailand, prospecting for my clients, and prospecting, and getting nowhere, the country manager of Alcatel says, you don't get it. I said, no, I don't get it. Tell me what I'm missing. He says, Paul, in Thailand, you have to prospect for 2 years with the same person until they even consider giving you business. Here I am taking my Canadian Western European, let's sell. That doesn't work in Asia. Thailand has its own agenda. The third thing I remembered, give it away. Give it away. Give it away now, as the Red Hot Chili Peppers would say. I gave my IP, my intellectual property, my contacts, my time, I gave it all away. Rewinding to Canada, once again, 10 years prior, I wanted to teach at a community college. I said, Paul, we only have this course. I said, what course is it? Are you ready for this? Interviewing skills in personnel selection. Is that a sleeper? What? I said, give it to me. I gave the course, and at the end, there's these reviews, and this one person said, Mr. Renaud is inspiring. I said, whoa, me inspiring? That's funny. One person, one word, transformed my life. So if I could teach in Canada, back to Thailand, I said, I'll give some lectures and workshops for free. Yes, for free. And I got 2 global clients. 2 global clients. I also discovered there's a fundamental law in networking called altruism, giving without nothing in return. You know why? Because it's okay to help people. No, really, it's okay to help people. No, really, it's okay. It's okay to help people. There's no fine print. So, after my Congo adventure in Thailand, now my travel patterns looks like this. The last blue line is I moved from Thailand to Romania, worked here for 2 years. And at one point I was saying, I got to do something else now, and I discovered coaching. Coach, let me think about that. Take my experience, take my hobby, which is peak performance tools and stuff. I said, yeah, that'll be fun. Help people transform themselves, get better. I could have fun doing this. That would be cool. That was my revelation and defining moment. So I would take my skills, and I'm a pretty good listener, take my business experience, but take everything I've learned from everybody I've met, put that together, and they've given me the key ingredients of starting a new career, a brand new career. My peers would tell me, Paul, if you're looking at some segments, take a look at these segments. I tried that. That represents 30% of my business. 30% of my business. My boss, Jim, would say, Paul, you take what you're really, really good at, and you take what you like to do, put that together, you become deadly. Deadly. It's finding your zone. It's like surfers in Australia, someone going, surf's up, dude. Riding the wave. Riding the wave is finding your zone. Now, athletes find this when they're young, and kids find it when they're young as well. Distinguished and gifted children, musician, artists. But finding your zone, it's what it's all about. Result? Well, after 24 years of searching, I'm not a policeman. I'm not a pilot. I'm not an astronaut, although I met one. You'll meet him later. His name's Miguel. And I'm not rich. But I am wealthy. I'm wealthy in the abundance of the people that I've met in my career, the people that have helped me. Real people, not virtual people. Isn't that the definition of being interconnected? I'm wealthy in understanding the law of giving away and expecting nothing in return. It's okay to help people. In fact, giving in many cultures around the world is one of the highest forms of courtesy. So now we're giving at a global level. And I also understood that if you help people, because it's okay to help people, they help you find your zone. They help you determine that zone. So we're getting back to this interconnected stuff. If you're having problems in the stormy waters of life and career, who are you going to call? A random Facebook friend? My search for new worlds and new civilizations has taught me the real definition of people power. People power, excuse me, is a two-sided coin. One person, one word, transformation. Remember my student who says I was inspiring? But the flip side of that coin is you. Your ability to transform people, your ability to help people find their way. So imagine for a minute, meeting people face to face and getting that unexpected job, that dream job. Meeting people and learning how to deal with a culture or finding new segments. Giving your IP, your intellectual property, giving it away, and finding 2 new clients. And it's okay to help people, because when you help people, they guide you towards your zone, the intersection of what you're really, really good at and what you like to do. Utopia. Connected. Interconnected. Your zone. So I have a question for you. Have you found your zone? If not, like my story has indicated, with people power, you still have time. Thank you.